Speaking of friends, joining me now, the great Sandra Smith, co-anchor of America Reports on Fox News, and Steve Forbes, speaking of great, Forbes Media chairman and editor-in-chief and author of the important book, Inflation, What It Is, Why It's Bad, and How to Fix It. Steve Forbes, you and I have fought these battles for so many years. It goes beyond. But I just want to start on this point. A lot of the conservatives from the Freedom Caucus, okay, now I know there's been acrimony and personality stuff, and I don't like any of that, but they don't seem to trust Mr. McCarthy because Mr. McCarthy doesn't speak with clarity on the issues that I have laid out this evening. And I'm not saying I've touched on every darn thing, but I do believe balanced budgets, regular order, tax cuts, energy independence, pro-growth measures. He doesn't talk about that. He doesn't hammer away about that. And I think that's one reason they don't trust him.
Well, whether they trust him or not, I think you've outlined the way to break this impasse and give the rebels, insurgents who lost to McCarthy 186-31, let's not forget that, a way to back off by being very explicit. And the words you used in your riff there, very important, dynamic scoring.
Thank you.
They've never done that with the CBO, the Congressional Budget Committee, and so they've talked about it. Gingrich didn't do it. They've never done it. Real dynamic scoring. So the balanced budget program does not become a way of increasing taxes and that kind of thing. And also getting around the gimmicks of loan guarantees and things like that, which is spending in another way. So dynamic scoring is critical. And if he comes out for that, they're going to reform the CBO, get rid of these people who still think that if you cut taxes, it hurts the economy, even though we've had hundreds of years of experience on the opposite. That is the key. And that way you break the impasse. The rebels can say, oh, we finally got a firm commitment. And the others can say, we've made clarity, and they can move forward. So you've saved them. And if they don't follow that, I'm going to nominate you for Speaker.
That is really, I thought you were my pal. But look, I appreciate the kind thoughts on that. You know, Sandra, I'm looking for a way out for McCarthy, but I'm looking for a way out in general. I mean, this thing cannot go on forever.
A way in for McCarthy?
I'm for McCarthy.
Just to be fair.
To this moment,
I hear you. But to that point...
But I'm saying is, just to finish the thought and let you pound away, but I'm just saying that underneath the personality disputes and this and that and the bric-a-bracking that's inevitable here, there is some fundamental policy issues that remain essentially unsolved. And you have to go back and look. The commitment to America, which was much ballyhooed. I mean, look, Newt Gingrich himself, who was the progenitor of it, said many times on this show and elsewhere that it wasn't very specific. They weren't like clear legislative proposals. And I think a lot of conservatives, to Steve's point, whether they're Freedom Caucus people or McCarthy conservatives, they never really hammered away on any of this stuff.
The problem is the longer this drags out, it's been about policy issues. The longer it drags out, as one Republican member said on my program today, it's gotten really personal. I mean, this is dragging on. We're in a third day now. To your point about the speech, love it. Do it. I keep thinking he's going to. I keep thinking Kevin McCarthy's going to take the microphone on the House floor and make the strongest pitch possible so people know where he stands.
So I said this
issues.
Last night. I was on the horn till late in the evening. I know who to call, believe me, including in his campaign political operation and other House members. I didn't see it yet today. They all said, it's a great idea, Larry. It's a great idea, Larry.
Didn't happen.
A lot of Kudlow ideas. This one hasn't played out yet. But I'm not. I can take it. But I'm just saying, one would think it would almost, start anew, start the clock over again.
Or come on your show. Join us. We're in the middle of this. We're covering this every day, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. He can come on and make his pitch. I just want to get this in here. We had Scott Perry on the program. I think this goes both ways.
You had Scott Perry on the program?
Today.
Were you talking? He's coming on here in a
Very
little while.
Similarly, they need to lay out what their intentions are, right? What's their end game? What are the holdout concessions? Be extremely clear to the American people why this is happening. I can't help thinking as we cover this hour by hour how much of a different place we would be in if there had been that big red wave in November. Right, we would be in a much different place today. Real quick, Don Bacon was also on, Republican from Nebraska. Steve, he came on. He said McCarthy's not going to back down. He says this is going to go on days, weeks, as long as it takes. He then broke news with us and said that they are now and he's pitching this to his fellow Republicans that support McCarthy. They're considering working with Democrats to get concessions, okay? He just said this on our program, to get McCarthy over the line. Would they ask some of those Democrats to abstain from voting? He said that's a possibility, or vote for McCarthy if they were willing. But they're talking about concessions involving committee ratios, rule changes. But
he said this before. He's gone down this road before.
This is the most clearly I've seen him talk about that.
This is a squishy.
I can't imagine that's a real possibility, but he said it.
It's a surrender. And in terms of your speech, if McCarthy doesn't do it, why don't the rebels do it? Why don't the insurgents do it and say, here's what we want? Then McCarthy can say, that's good, let's clarify it and move ahead. That way, again, everyone saves face. I don't mind that they don't like each other, they want to throw sand at each other. That's politics, big deal in an organization. Eventually, you got to get something done. I think maybe if they don't meet tomorrow, take the long weekend, which they always like to do anyway, and to come back, come. You know, they don't like to work more than 3 or 4 days a week anyway. Best of times.
Not like us.
But
Amen.
Yes. Sorry.
But on Monday, come back and say we've reached an agreement, not a compromise. Don't use that word compromise.
Right.
We've clarified where we want to go, and use that word clarify so nobody loses face. You've outlined it.
I don't know how many. I mean, I don't think you can go to 133 ballots. That was before the Civil War. Times are different, politics different.
We know we're going to be at 9 today.
You're right. You're going to be at 9, which is the modern record. You're reaching a point here where it's not good. I mean, I believe fervently that some good or a lot of good can come out of this if issues are clarified. But I think, 9, 10, 11, 12,
But can I just put something to you? I often turn around and start interviewing Larry on his own program because people want to hear what you have to say. But why did it get to this point? I know it's a simple question and it's an obvious one. But Kevin McCarthy's been at this for months now. We know these negotiations were starting. Scott Perry said it on my program today, this summer. Why did they bring this vote to the floor without the homework getting done? Why is this happening?
There's a lot of reasons. One, it was a close election. Then, the cavalry, we had a platoon, not a cavalry, but you did take the House. That's big news.
Yep.
I'm just going to speculate as an admirer of Kevin McCarthy, as a very strong admirer of Kevin McCarthy. But the more I talk to people, I hear this, we needed a balanced budget.
Yeah.
And it's not like the old style, let's jack up taxes and get a phony balanced budget. It's more of a supply side balanced budget. And they want that, and they have a right to have it, and they never got it. And there is a lack of trust about the leadership in general, and Mr. McCarthy in particular, that he won't stand for it. He won't fight for it. Now, even though he's given up on some rule changes, some of which I don't approve of, vacating the chair. I think that's crazy. He will put conservatives on the Rules Committee, which they are asking for. Specific policies, I mean, I think they didn't make enough of the commitment to America. And that may also, Steve, just a thought I have, that may have hurt them politically. Not that, look, I'm not,
well,
they're not guilty of Mitch McConnell's sellout on an omnibus bill.
But he hits on something very important.
Right, they didn't campaign on specific items.
They let the abortion issue hang out there instead of dealing that with head on. And then the challenges with our former president. We love what he did, but a lot of people have problems with it. So they let that define the election instead of an explicit, we're going to cut your taxes. We're going to let you keep more. We're going to secure the border. They talked about secure the border, but they didn't have that clarion call. And after the election, and this is where I think the insurgents were at fault, they never laid out. They didn't even have an alternative candidate. It's one a day now. And laid out, what specifically do you want? Rules changes, you're right. They're ridiculous. They don't get to the heart of the problem. The heart of the problem is, what do you stand for? What do you wish to do? And realize you're not going to get it done now. Shutting down the government's not going to work. Newt tried that. It does not work. But laying out to the American people, wouldn't you like $2 a gallon gasoline? Here we've got a bill we're going to put out there.
By the way, they never had, I kept kidding, Kevin McCarthy, who has always been accessible, I would call it H.R. 1, turn the spigots back on. Fracking, permitting, pipelining, refining, new terminals for LNG. But they didn't really do it.
So if they don't take a break from this tomorrow, perhaps you're going to make more of your phone calls tonight, and maybe we're going to see Kevin McCarthy
I'm going to continue
take
this.
to the House floor for a speech.
I don't, honestly, at this point, I mean, look, Steve Scalise could be the speaker. Pat McHenry could be the speaker. I understand. They've got a pretty good bench. But I think the 200 people behind McCarthy are going to keep pushing him to do this.
Yep.
I don't think he can move the needle unless he makes an all-encompassing, clear, ironclad policy speech that talks about the stuff you and I.
One little suggestion. Don't call it balance the budget, because in people's minds that means you're going to take something away. Call it getting America growing again.
Getting America growing again.
Or as Kennedy said, getting America moving forward again. Put a positive title to it.
I like that. By the way, they could use a monetary commission in there someplace too.
Oh,
right. They should.
And they should have a commission. It doesn't have to be in the headlines.
So once all this
Examining
gets
the
done,
whole
though,
thing about the Federal Reserve, the idea that they can guide the economy. Start challenging that whole thing.
I just think a lot of people are watching this and they're wondering what the next couple of years look like. What does this House majority look like, and what's going to get done?
They can paint the picture of the future when they take it in 24. Here's what we're offering, but we need your support. Help us.
If they clarify their policies in a way that hasn't been clarified before, and that non-clarification has hurt Kevin McCarthy. But if they can get around, if this little exercise in representative democracy plays out, it may produce much better policies and much greater clarity. It might actually help them, right? Because the commitment to America is a little bit half-baked. Honestly, it's a little bit half-baked. I mean, I remember reading it. I remember the leadership sent out a legislative bulletin at the beginning of this week or whatever, middle of last week, and I'm reading it and go, it's not what I want to hear. You know, I got Art Laffer on this show every week talking about the need to be stewards of prosperity. I got Steve Forbes on the show every week talking about the need for growth and prosperity, and Steve Moore, and yours truly, and many other people. It wasn't really there. Yeah. And some of these conservatives in the Freedom Caucus are kind of calling the leadership on it right now. They're calling them. I think that's the source of the
But it also
I gotta get out.
It also may finally get some of the squishies in our party who are toying with kitty credits and show we're for the people kind of stuff that you see over in the Senate. Finally quash that once and for all. It worked for Reagan, worked in the past, made America, you can't use the word great again, made America the wonderful country that it is today.
Actually,
it's a long acronym.
Let's make America great again. Again. Again.
I can't wait for your
Moving
Scott
America
Perry interview.
Sandra Smith.
I'm going to be watching.
Steve Forbes.